Hey guys, Yusuf here, and in today's video, I'm going to answer one very important question, which is how can I make money with investing and trading? And this is a question a lot of people who are just starting out or who have been in the space for years are asking themselves, because this space can be pretty brutal if you don't have the right roadmap. And a lot of us go through the same journey to becoming profitable. Now, I quit my job 5 years ago, going full time into crypto. It took me 4 years to become profitable, and I also had a mentor guide me through that process. And after a year or two, I ended up going down my own road to find my own strategy because I had my own style of investing. Which leads us to the next point here is what game do you want to play in the crypto world? Because there's a lot of different games, mainly three types of games to play in the crypto world, and it depends on your personality. Which road do you want to go down? Because you can't learn all of it at once. It's too overwhelming. There's too much information. So you'd rather be a master of one than a jack of all trades, because if you're a master of one, you can actually start extracting money from the markets and becoming better at the game you're playing than the people you're competing against in the market, because this is a zero-sum game. There are winners and there are losers. So when you're coming at this game, you need to focus on one to be better than your competition. And that's what I'm going to be talking about here. First is the three type of games you can play within crypto. The first game is perpetual trading. This is where you're focused on reading price action. You might use trend lines, Fibonacci retracements, moving averages, mean reversions, market structure, or countless other technical strategies. You're trying to profit from the market's movements rather than investing in the underlying project. You don't care what the project is, you simply want the volatility. It's a completely different skill set that rewards discipline, execution, and risk management. The second game is on-chain investing. Even within this game, there are different approaches. One is the attention game, where you're buying brand new launches and trying to identify where the attention is flowing before everyone else does. The upside is pretty obvious. You can make life-changing gains very, very quickly. The downside is that most new coins never make it. You're operating in the highest risk part of the market. But the other approach within on-chain investing is conviction investing. Instead of chasing every new launch, you're identifying projects you genuinely believe have room to grow and giving them weeks or maybe months to play out. Your returns may always come slower, but you're not constantly jumping from coin to coin trying to catch the next pump overnight. And the third game here is longer term investing. This is where you're looking at the larger and more established projects. You're trying to position yourself around major themes, adoption cycles, and long-term narratives rather than daily price movements. The returns won't usually be as explosive as microcap investing, but the risk profile is completely different. Now, none of these games are wrong, they're just different. The mistake is trying to play all of them at the same time, because each one rewards different behaviors. One rewards patience, another rewards speed, another one requires deep research, and another requires rapid execution. If you constantly switch between them, you'll never build enough experience to become good at any of them. So, before you buy another coin or copy another strategy, ask yourself one question. What game am I actually trying to play? Because until you answer that question, every decision you make will feel random and you will feel lost and confused. Once you know the game you're trying to play, you can finally build a strategy that's aligned with your goals, your personality, and the amount of time and capital you have. Now, here's another spot where people go wrong. They think they're failing, but most of the time, they're judging themselves using the wrong metrics. When you're new to crypto, it's easy to look around and think, why is it working for everyone else, but not for me? You see one person turn 1,000 to 100,000 on a meme coin. Another trader is posting daily profits from perpetual futures. Someone else has been holding Bitcoin for years and is outperforming everyone. It looks like everyone's figured it out except for you. But what you don't realize is that they're all playing different games and they've probably been in the game for longer. Also, you have no idea what goes on in the background. That person who hit $1,000 to 100K with meme coins probably lost thousands of dollars trying to hit that one. So they're all playing different games. Imagine judging a marathon runner against a Formula One driver. One wins by being patient over 42 kilometers. The other wins by finishing laps as fast as possible. Neither is wrong. They're just competing in different sports. And crypto is exactly the same. If you've chosen conviction investing as a strategy, but every day you're comparing yourself to someone flipping new launches, doing on-chain trading, you're going to feel like you're losing. If you're trading new launches but expecting the consistency of a long-term investor, you're going to feel like your strategy doesn't work. The problem is usually that the game you've chosen doesn't align with the strategy you're using. And because you think you're failing, you abandon your strategy before it has enough time to prove itself. Then you switch to whatever is working for someone else. And a few weeks later, you switch again and again. The result, you never spend enough time playing one game to actually become good at it. The biggest edge in crypto isn't constantly changing strategies, it's choosing the game that fits your goals then giving yourself enough time to master the rules before deciding whether it works. Okay, so now let's suppose you figured out which game you want to play. The next natural question would be, do you know what you need to get better at the game you're playing? Each game has different strategies, whether you're playing a shooter, whether you're playing an MMO, an RPG, a sport, each game has a strategy. Now, most people who start out obviously do not have the strategy because they have no experience. That goes hand in hand. How could you know the strategy if you've never spent time playing the game? And you can find these strategies out a number of ways. People share them on social media, on YouTube. You can have mentors, guides, all these kind of things. The most important thing is you know where to look to go find them. Now, I myself have learned and built different strategies for each game, ones that have helped me scale from 30K to a million in my second cycle. And then I did it again with 100K to a million. Obviously, it gets easier as you get more capital. It's easier to scale that capital because you need less multiples. Now, if that's something you guys are interested in learning and you want to fast track, make sure to check out my website down below. But these strategies are extremely important to learn and pick up from other people because they shorten the time you need to get to success. Because otherwise, you're going to be learning things from scratch. And if you guys have played any kinds of games or sports, you know that learning from someone else does shorten that time. Now, speaking of time, you need to give yourself enough time. You know you need to pick one game now and you need to stick to it because switching after not getting the desired results only prolongs the success because you're not giving yourself enough time to take all the information and then refine it and iterate on it, because that is the process. The process of becoming better comes during the refining process, trying something, failing, and then seeing why you failed, and then continuing to improve on that process. You have to learn where you went wrong and slowly remove the mistakes from the process that led to the loss. That's how you get to the win. And that requires time because you need to know your specific weaknesses. Each one of us has different weaknesses. And unless we've done this before, we won't know what those weaknesses are. For example, my weaknesses when I started off is that I would sell positions too early, where they would continue to run and run. I would have a great track record of picking winners. I just didn't hold the coins long enough and I would miss out on massive gains. We're talking about 10 to 50 X's. So after I learned that, okay, I have the potential to pick winners, now I need to fix my holding situation. Once I fixed that, I was able to realize a lot larger gains than I did previously. And once I found that success, I just doubled down on what worked for me. Because once you find something that works for you, stick to it. There's no reason to switch until you have an abundance of capital in one of the games, because that unlocks time for you to focus on other things. For example, if you figured out how to do on-chain conviction investing, that time you spend waiting for that coin to go up could be spent on other things in the market. You could learn how to do the attention trading. You could learn how to do perps trading, but that can only be done once you're done learning the main part of the game. Now, there's something to be said about you never stop learning, and that's true, but the space you have to jump from one level to another gets shorter. So let's do a quick recap before we move on. So ask yourself, what game do you actually want to play? Perpetual trading, on-chain attention, on-chain conviction, or long-term investing, because every game rewards different behaviors. Now, for the second question, if you've chosen the game, do you actually know how to win that game? Now, this is where you'll learn the strategies behind the game. For example, perp traders learn market structure, risk management, execution, psychology, whereas a conviction investor would learn narrative analysis, tokenomics, wallet tracking, patience. It's a different game with different skills. You need to commit to a game and stop comparing yourself to other people because you never know what strategy they're using. You don't know if it's profitable. So the only person you can measure up against is yourself. Now, this is where most people quit. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every week to check if it's growing. But people buy a coin, nothing happens after 4 days, and they think, this strategy simply doesn't work. And that isn't the case. You simply didn't give it enough time to produce results. And then if you happen to run that loop once and it didn't work, don't just change everything. Instead of saying the strategy doesn't work or you change the strategy, you need to review, improve upon it, and repeat, because every trade gives you new information. Every investment is a learning opportunity. If you're not reviewing your decisions, you're simply wasting experience. The experience is only useful if you learn from it. Diversification is extremely useful when it comes to investing. However, in this specific scenario where we're learning strategies, spreading yourself too thin isn't actually the right move. Imagine trying to become a surgeon while also becoming a lawyer, while also learning architecture. You'll probably become mediocre at all three, and crypto works the same way. Become exceptional at one game, and then you can expand to include different strategies. But you have to build the skill first to get the capital, and then you can expand on the strategy. That's the loop I've found to be most useful for me. So now you guys have the bigger picture of the different games you can play in crypto and the different strategies. Now, I have a Telegram group that's completely free. If you go ahead and check the description down below and sign up with your email, you'll get a link there to join the free Telegram. And in that free Telegram, I'll be sharing plays with my ideas on how I make decisions. So you guys can definitely learn for that. But if you guys are looking for something more, you can check out my website where I have a one-on-one tailored experience so I can get to know you and see how I can help you. And if that's something you guys are interested in, make sure to book a call and I'll get you sorted out. And this is for people who are serious about taking their learning to the next level, because my goal here is to shorten the learning curve to the point where it'll get you to a profitable trader much faster. I've already made all the mistakes you'll be making. I've studied these games, so I know the strategies to use, and I have documented real case studies to share with you so you can get a better idea of how this all works. So you'll learn what works, why it works, and just as importantly, when it does not work. But as for now, guys, that is pretty much it. And I hope you learned something valuable today to make your process of becoming a profitable trader much easier. But as for now, that is it for today, and I'll see you guys on the next one.